Okay, so here we're going to take a look at some basic file I/O stuff. This is just really writing text files or text data to a file. You can format it the same way you would format data to the screen, and you can format it to the file. So this is just very simple stuff that we're using. As you can see here in my code already, I have fstream, which is kind of like the I/O stream, except fstream is for files, where I/O stream is for outputting to the screen and so forth. So some of the streaming will look similar as we use these things here. So within the fstream, there's also a class called ofstream and ifstream. One is for output file streaming and one's for input file streaming. So I created both because we're going to do both of those things as we move along here. And then I just give a string variable so I can use it for other things as we go along. So what the ofstream and ifstreams are handlers to the files. So we got to tell it what file we're looking for. All right. So with the out file, let's start with some output. There's an open method, and it just simply needs a name of a file. So we're going to in double quotes. You can use a text string variable here if you want, instead of typing in the file name that way. And that will open a file. If it doesn't exist, it creates it. If it exists, it wipes out all the data that's currently in it. Right. So we can start writing to the file. One thing you should always check is to make sure that the file was able to be opened. So if with doing an if statement on that file handler, just like that, right, it's going to be null if it wasn't able to open the file for one reason or another. So if it's not null, we know we're safe and we can write to the file. Alright, so Rich. We'll write a couple of names in here. Alright, do a little cut and paste to save some time. Miss my /n there. If you want these to appear on separate lines, you do need to put the /n so it prints a carriage return at the end. So that means in the text file, which we'll look at, you'll see that it was not able, it would put each name on a different line. Alright, and if it does fail for whatever reason, if we come across it, we'll put a message there. Alright, so there's that message, and oops. Alright, so there you have the opening of the file, writing to the file, checking the file, and then there's also a close. You should always close the files once you are done with them. That will help make sure that all the data is completely written out. Stuff does stay in an input and an output buffer, allowing the OS to do it when it has time as it's moving along. Alright, so always close it. Alright, so let's compile this now. Alrighty, a little slow right now. And there we go, finally. Alright, I compiled and ran. There's no output to it, right, as you can see. But I should be able to open up the text file if it was able to create it, and there's our text file. Each name on a different line because we did do the /n, which is a carriage return. If I didn't put them in, they'll appear one right next to the other with no spaces in between it. It prints exactly what you tell it to print into the files. Alright, so that's simple writing to the file. Alright, nothing too overcomplicated there. Open the file. Whoops, excuse me there. Open the file, you gotta give it the file name, check the file handler, make sure that it was able to open it, write to it, and there's a message if it didn't open it, and then close it. If it didn't open it up here and you close it, no harm, there's nothing there for it to do. Alright, so we can kind of screw it up there by not being able to open it. If I put in some crazy drive here, telling it to go put that file on my G drive, which doesn't exist. Alright. We should get the message that it could not open the output file, right, because that directory does not exist on my computer. Alright, so you can't give it a whole path if you want to store the file somewhere else, so it's otherwise just going to store the file in the working directory of the program. Alright, so the other thing is to read from the file. That's using our in file, and again, that's just a variable name, call it whatever you want. Again, you got to open the file because this is an input handler. Alright, so you do need to distinguish, alright, and open it separately. And you don't want to have it open up twice right now. Names is what we called it? No, just name. There we go. So that will open it. Again, you should check to make sure that it was able to open the file. Alright. Again, we're streaming data, so that's why we're using that output operator just like we do with the cout. And down here you see I just pasted in code to read from the file using the same operator that the cin uses. Alright, so make sure the file was open and it tries to read data from it. It's going to read all the names that are in the file currently. Alright, again, the same error message there if it was not able to open it. And we need to close it. Alright, so there, we're closed now. And I seem to have lost a curly bracket down here. There we go. So now we'll see some outputs. Alright, so it's telling to go read something from the file, put it in this variable, and then when using cout statements with that variable to output those names. Alright. So pretty straightforward getting data in and out. Again, if it fails to read the file, alright, we'll get our error message. Just change the file name slightly, and we should get that error message. There's the error message that it wasn't able to do it. Alright, if I take this out, if statement, and of course the else statement also, attempt to use it without checking it. Alright, so now there's no check, it's just trying to open it. Alright, doesn't necessarily crash the program, but it does attempt to read it. Name is never assigned to anything, so it never gets assigned to anything because there's nothing to read from a file because there is no file. So it's just misuse of using the file name. Alright, so you don't want to execute code if you don't have all the data or access to what you need. So that's why we check. Alright, put that all back in. Alright, so with that, close the file. So I'm going to do one more thing, leaving that there. Alright, so I'm going to change Rich to my full name, run it again. And this works great for reading from the file, but you're going to see that it does have an issue. Oops, forgot to change my file name there again. There we go. This will only read a single word from the file, or up to the first white space that it finds. So you see it finds Rich, and the second one is Specioso, then Joe, then Mary. There is no Patty, right? Because it did not take this in all at once. It only took in Rich. So it goes up to the first white space. Alright, so to get around that, alright, I'm going to add some more code here, so you can, which is pretty much identical there, with a slight change. So you can compare the two and you'll see the difference. Still opening the same file, but I'm not going to use this. Alright, just like when you're getting strings from the keyboard, right, you want to use getLine. Alright, normally we would pass it to cin, but here we're going to pass it to file handler, the variable we want to put it in, and we're all set. Alright, these I don't have to change because I know there are only one character each, one word each. So now when it runs, I should get all the names. I have a syntax error. Where's my error? Oh, ended up with an extra curly bracket. There we go. Sorry about that. Cut and pasting will do that to you sometimes. Alright, so there you go. So now you see the output first, right, with Rich Specioso split, but then you see it together and you see Patty where we didn't get Patty here. Right. Reading any of the names that way and using the get line wouldn't cause any problems. You can use that for all of them also. Alright, so you don't have to use just this operator like this. But if you know you're just getting one word at a time, that's what you want. Even though there's more words on a single line in the file, you want to just get a word at a time, you would use this operator. It's much simpler. Alright, so a little bit more here with the files, and I'm going to paste this in and explain it to you what's going on. A few other features. Alright, we're dealing with files. So there's still the open. This is for out file. Same file name. Oops, it went out the S now. But I added this other argument, iOS : append. APP stands for append. So if the file exists, don't wipe it out. Start fresh or append to the file. Alright, so if the file exists, open it and let me add to it. If it doesn't exist, it will create the file, and you just doing what we were doing up above, just putting text in. So this will not wipe out any of the data we put into it up above, where before it would. Alright, so what I'm going to do first is take out this append portion. Alright, and you can see the input down below. I'll explain that in a second. It's really just reading one character at a time. Alright, but I want to show you this output and show you how it's working, opening the text file as we go along. Alright, so there you go. There's everything there. This is corrupted right now. We'll fix that in a minute. So they're still reading from the file. Alright, I didn't output what I tried to add to the file. Let me open up the file now. And the only thing you see in it is Tom. Alright, so here I put one character in at a time with the put, right, instead of the operator or the, right. This allows me to put one character at a time. It's writes in single quotes with a carriage return. So since I opened it, right, just like that, without the extra piece that I had in there, it recreates the file. Now if I change it to do that, let me close that text, compile it, and get my new text file. Alright, that's the old one, compiling still. Alright, so there's our output again. All good. Alright, but now if we go and look at the text file, it appended to it. Tom's there, and all the rest of the data is there. Alright, so that was the put. It puts in one character. You can't give it more than one character. It won't like it. Here I'm opening the file again. Wrong file name. That's why we're getting the corrupted data there. Here I'm using with the file handler the get and passing it a char per argument, and it's going to read one character at a time. So the put puts in one character at a time. The get will get one character out of the file at a time. And now you'll see that it pulls out part of rich. It starts at the top of the file and pulls out the first two characters it finds within it. That's your basic file I/O.